External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, meanwhile, has highlighted India's significant role in advancing African interests in G20, saying that there is not a single African president or prime minister or foreign minister who has not thanked India for its efforts. He further stated that India's efforts to involve Africa in G20 membership has spurred a debate on not just multilateralism, but even on UN reform. He said, and I quote, "The feeling is that if a body like the G20 could add a member, surely this should serve as an inspiration for other bodies, not least the United Nations." Let's listen in.
The Indian presidency provided an occasion really for a lot of countries who had a natural affinity of interests, but somewhere had lost that sense of, I would say, cohesive articulation to get that back. The third is Africa specifically, because there's not a single African president or prime minister or foreign minister who's really not thanked us for what is seen truly as a big step in Africa's rise, a recognition today that Africa should have a voice. And in fact, in a very interesting way, it has also spurred a debate on not just multilateralism, but even on UN reform. I mean, the feeling is that if a body like the G20 could add a member, I mean, surely this should serve as an inspiration for other bodies, not least the United Nations.
Akshit Gupta joins us for more details on this story. Akshit, the External Affairs Minister elaborating on how India has ensured a greater voice and greater role for Africa in the G20 and in general in the world.
Well, yes, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar yesterday highlighted the important role India played in advancing African interests and stimulating discussions on UN reform through the G20 presidency, of course, the very successful one. And he was speaking at a book launch event, and he underscored the positive response from African leaders. And he said that there is not a single African president or prime minister or foreign minister who has really not thanked India for what is truly seen as a big step in Africa's rise, a recognition today that Africa should also have a voice. And he also talked about the broader implications of India's initiatives.
Right. Akshit, stay with us. Sanjeev Srivastav, International Affairs expert, also joins us now live. Sanjeev, clearly, of course, Africa is extremely indebted to India, isn't it? And here I'm speaking of various countries in Africa.
Certainly, Uday. Well, first of all, a very good morning to you. Good morning to Akshit and to all the viewers. India has emerged as the leader of Global South. And South Africa, of course, is having a very substantial, significant part of the entire Global South. And India has provided them the leadership. India has provided them the voice. India has emerged as the voice of the voiceless. And that is precisely why South African African countries are so much thankful to the India's leadership, India's initiatives. Because, India believes in this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And we believe that no region of the world should be left aside. Every region of the world and every citizen of the world should, be listened to. And whatever the problems, whatever the grievances, challenges, and also opportunities African nations have, it must be listened to, and they must be given full support. And that is precisely why Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has taken this initiative, believing this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, believing in this idea of one earth, one family, one future. And obviously Africa is a very significant part of it. And that is why, because of the India's initiative, India's visionary leadership, Africa could be, admitted into the G20, African Union. So I think this was a very significant development, and that is why if you look at the visuals at that point of time, Uday, when African Union president, he hugged Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. He was so happy and so welcoming that he could not hide his, the emotions and happiness. So I think this shows the kind of leadership, the kind of vision Prime Minister Modi has provided to the African nations, and African nations are really, really thankful. And in future also, whenever such opportunities will come, where African Union and African nations will require representation, India is going to be providing its full support and full solidarity. So I think Africa is thankful, and regions are quite visible, and India obviously will continue giving its full support by its own, and through the multilateral institutions like G20 and other multilateral institutions, India will continue supporting African nations in times ahead too.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.